What's going on?
Yeah, welcome to Golden State Warrior Podcast, Episode 9. The verdict, where we stand right now as a community. We'll be discussing all of that and more.
Welcome to it. How was your week?
Yeah, it was a good week. Definitely was a good week. Good week to get some good news.
Yeah, we got some good news.
Yeah.
And some bad news.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Good and bad. It seems like that's the norm, right? Lately, the way it's been.
But since we've been doing this show every week, have you noticed we got to say rest in peace to somebody?
Yeah, always.
And we've been doing this for like 9 weeks now. Mm-hmm. Every week.
Yeah, definitely.
Rest in peace.
Definitely. Got some news last night too. Late night with Shark G. Rest in peace to Shark G. As well as early in the week with Black Rob as well. So tough week in the entertainment community as far as just people who really just brought it to us, early on, as far as like rap and things like that. So we just definitely got some tough news as well through the community, through the verdict.
Yeah, the George Floyd.
Yeah, for George Floyd verdict as far as officer Well, former officer now, definitely former officer. Derek Chauvin was found guilty on all 3 charges, which was like a 50-50 kind of thing, right? I felt like through the week, a lot of people was like 50-50, was it going to be guilty, not guilty, was it going to be some guilty, not guilty stuff, so.
It had me nervous because, because they called that doctor to the stand like the last minute.
Yeah.
That right there, I was like,
yeah, it was like kind of hit. It was like it was going to happen too, because we saw some outside stuff outside of the case, some talking, kind of
Messing water.
somebody threw a wrench. Somebody threw a wrench into the
which could help down at the back end, on the back end as far as like appeals and stuff like that. So at least we got something for right now.
Yep.
And I was shocked that he was even found guilty, to be honest.
Yeah, as far as like surrounding the situation, thank goodness for the young lady with the phone, who was able to, the footage that gave us the outside world opportunity to actually see what happened, as far as like, the incident, because that was not his first time, being.
Yeah, it came out. He assaulted a teenager. Yes, actually did the same thing. He had his knee on the back of his neck.
And that's
They're actually contemplating right now that they're going to bring charges.
Oh yeah, I saw that was going to be the back end, but that was going to be federal, right?
Yep.
Yeah, federal. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because to me,
because he was a minor, or
I think it tied in with the minor situation, and it was some other like red tape as far as like what was as far as like things to maybe like get it into turn it into federal. There's so many things that you can tie into a case to turn it from federal, to turn it into a federal charge. So, but it's something he was talking about earlier in the week, as far as like when you get into a situation with an officer and he's brought up on charges and he still for a certain technique, and what is he doing? He's still doing the same technique, and then this time he turns around this technique, took the life of another individual. So that's something that always gets to me when these officers don't get the right, the proper like training as far as like when they get into situations, pulling the person out of a vehicle, when they stopping a person, the communication, because a lot of things, that's where a lot of stuff starts, the communication, right, the interaction.
See, but I disagree.
Okay.
Because they're well trained when it comes to white kids or white men. We don't see this issue. We only see it when it comes to black people and black men in particular. So I don't think it has so much to do as with training as with them having a lack of respect for us, and especially black men.
Okay.
Because I watched over the last few weeks them interacting with white guys, white kids, white women, and it never escalates to this point. We watched it. How many mass shootings, and they were able to take the shooter into custody without a scratch or anything. Even in Minnesota, the same week that we were watching the trial, it was a white guy that actually beat a cop in the head with a hammer and took him on a wild chase. And they brought him into custody, no bruises, no anything. So it's just a lack of training when it comes to us. And I think it's more deeper than being retrained.
Well, I can't even say that was a lack of training, because when you got 10, 20 years of experience as an officer, you're trained.
Right.
After, you're a rookie. I'm going to say a rookie after the first 4 or 5 years, but after that, you got 10 plus years, it's no excuse.
It's no excuse when you say in as far as what like officers when they pulling people over or just anything
across the board.
That's true.
It's like a regular job. If I had a regular job and I make my mistakes at the beginning, that's like even me driving trucks. Like when I first started, I went under a bridge. I took the whole top off my truck. But I was a rookie.
You learn from that.
I've been doing this for 7 years now, so if somebody see me do that now, they're gonna look at me totally different.
Yeah, that's the thing, because I think when we're all in situations, as far as me being a black man, when I'm pulled over in situations, I've had officers be respectful, and I've also had officers try to bait you into certain situations to try to get you to maybe incriminate yourself or turn it into something more than it, like a regular situation as far as just being pulled over. So for me, when I say training, I say it's lack of training, because you have, like you said, officers who are 20 years, 15, 20 years in. You have these rookies who take the lead of these officers who are 15 to 20 years in, all across the board. They don't change anything up. whatsoever, because they're used to, like, as far as like, hey, young kid, this is what I used to do. As far as like when I first started, there was no this, there was no that. So
show them the shortcuts.
Yeah. As far as like, and you have a lot of these young kids who are afraid to step outside of that. And I think as far as change, we saw with the case as far as this one, you had officers who had to step outside of the box and say, yes, this was wrong. This was wrong. And we saw the same day, same exact day, was it maybe before the verdict or right after the verdict in Ohio, with a young lady who called the police because she was under attack in her foster care. She was under attack, and she had to defend herself. The officer came onto the scene. The young lady was waving a knife. I'm not going to say she was coming at the officer, but the incident was like very hectic when he approached the scene. Very hectic. So when he's coming to that scene, he doesn't know who called 911.
Yeah.
First of all, he doesn't know if it's the young lady or the people being attacked by the knife. But trained officer thinking, okay, I'm coming onto a violent situation. The person who called 911, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the person who is unarmed, who doesn't have a weapon.
Yeah.
That's what he's thinking in his mindset, because through his training. So when that happens, you have what occurred.
But did you notice when he immediately came out of the vehicle, before she even ran up, he already had his gun drawn?
Absolutely, because a weapon was already drawn on the scene.
But here's the thing: police are trained. If you get a ticket, if I get a ticket right now, and if you notice, a cop is always trained to be on their dominant side. If you're right, they are. Yeah, they are. Their hand.
Really just walk. Like I sent you videos. I can show you videos where we have white boys and white men with guns, with knives, and with different things, and they tase them. They bring them down. They de-escalate the situation. When it comes to black people and black men in particular, as we see, they never have any restraints. They have no. Is a lack of respect for us.
That's true. So, I hear you in there, but it's not always. I can't always say this in every incident, because, and I've seen incidents as well in the past that whether they're white, Spanish, where yes, it has got to the point where the officer had to become violent with the individual. But lately, right now, it's just, that's the most dominant thing right now. That's the most dominant thing that's come across social media, where it's like, we tend to like put this situation and that situation up against it, and that doesn't solve anything. That does nothing. I've been
monitoring this situation for the last 10 years. And what I noticed is that when it comes to black people and black men, is no respect. They always find a way to de-escalate other situations, but when it comes to us, there's never a de-escalation. And in this situation, was she wrong for having a knife? Yes, she was wrong. Is there other ways that she could have been subdued, taken down? Could you have shot her in the foot? It's a bunch of other things that could have been done.
Absolutely.
I don't justify what she did in this situation, but I would just like for them to have the same restraint that we literally watched with our eyes that they have for other races, for black people. I never get a chance to notice them have restraint with us.
Now, I'll say this for myself. I've been in situations where, yes, officers have shown restraint. Me as a black man, and I fit the description. I tell him all the time, I joke with people all the time, I get tired of I'm the boogeyman every day when I get up, every single day when I get up. My kids love me. I got a young daughter. I got a young autistic child, a young daughter, loves me to death. I got a son who 17 going on 18, you got to put a gun to his head probably to say you love me, you know what I mean? But outside of that, I'm the boogeyman. Yeah. I've gone on elevators where people, I'm the type of guy, I hold the door, the whole 9 yards. I was raised by a mother and a grandmother who, literally stalks my dreams if I don't hold the door for somebody that day. Yeah. So I've been in situations like that where restraint has been shown on the officers, and I've been in situations where it hasn't been shown. So that's the thing for me. We can't continually say this happens, because it doesn't happen 100 times across the board. If you have lined it up 100 times, it might happen 67 times, or it might happen 50-50, or it might happen 99-1. We never know. Because it's always different. It's different.
For me, it happens too many times.
Well, I can say this.
One person dying is too much.
Yes, absolutely. One person dying is too much now, but in every situation where one person is killed, do we have other situations where lives are saved in a different way? Because if that young lady if that officer would have said, okay, I'm going to tase you, and tases this young lady, and she still has the adrenaline rush, what's going on, and attacks the other person who is putting her in a volatile situation, but that officer doesn't know that, she stabs that young lady, and we never know. She can hit a vein, artery, what have you, kills the young lady, and then the officer again shoots her, and then we have two people who have died, two young people who have passed away, the one who called 911 and the attacker or attackee, both are dead, and then this officer's once again put into the situation where he's a white man who killed one young lady, but two young ladies with his actions.
And I watched that video from different news networks. I watched that video probably 30, 40 times. Actually, like even this morning, I watched it again. And the cop he had 9 seconds to make a life-changing choice. And it was either see what happened, what this girl would do with the knife. If she don't stab her, because she actually attacked the woman that was on the ground too. She attacked her first, then she ran over there and swung the knife. So it was a hard choice. Like,
I'm not justifying what she did. She was wrong in the entire situation. It's just me when it comes to police. I have a hard time accepting what they do just because of everything that I see from them every day, and I would never respect them, and I would never side with them.
Well, we got a comment from Andre Dye.
Now
it happens too often.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, it happens too often. So for me, that's why I say when I can teach my child, I can't teach my child 100% not to have any trust in the police. I can't, because he has not gone through the things that I've gone through. At the end of the day, I can't actually sit there and say, you're going to hate the cops, you're going to hate this, you're going to hate that, because sometimes that's what some of these police are teaching some of these young rookies to, this is
target black men.
To target not only black men, but to target other races too. Because what if my son was to come to me, and say, you know what, Dad, I want to be a cop.
My dad had a good comment. He said he believed they were told by higher ranks on how to treat black people.
Yeah, because we've seen,
and that's why they usually don't discipline people that's involved.
Not to cut you off, Ron. Do you know why the police was created? Their whole purpose was to catch slaves. They were called slave catchers before they were called police. And when you look at the criminal justice system, and you look at why they were employed and how they lock up black men more than they do any other race, they're doing what they were paid to do. So when we're sitting here trying to figure out why they treat us this way, they're slave catching. This is what they were set up to do. But they criminalize black men so much.
But we also have to look at the situations and also look at the crimes that are involved.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said
to get to this point, though.
I say every
white
case is
men
different.
actually commit
Every
more
case
crime
is
than
different.
black men.
But we also have to look at. But you also have to look at situations where communities, what taxpayers, certain elements, crime, money that comes in, money that goes out too. It also ties in a lot, because we all joke about. We used to joke about in high school, cops pulling everybody over. Remember, a certain time of the year they got to pull people over to get this done. We always used to joke about stuff like that, because it's true. It is true. We talk about the cell phones. I tell my mother all the time, you gotta watch your phone. You gotta watch your phone, because certain times, cops are going to be forced to, they get sit down and said, we gotta amp it up. People getting pulled over as far as like being on their cell phones and stuff like that. It's always going to come from up top. Everything we see comes from up top. Everything.
We all agree here that black men are under attack constantly.
We're under attack as far as from the police. We're attacked as far as under our communities. We're attacked outside of our communities. But we also can't make that as an excuse to be in situations. We can't make that be the reason why we don't like this, and this. We also have to find ways to use that. We have to use that against it.
That somebody does. If you make everything that they do, a crime, jaywalking, anything, to have an interaction with them to begin with,
we have to learn how to
put them in a situation.
We have to learn how to communicate, though. We have to learn how to communicate in those situations.
We have to learn how to police our own communities. That's what I think it is.
But see, that's where a lot of things come from too, though. But when we see situations that happen, picking police in our communities is people picking up the phone, recording it. People can say it they can say it all day, but they're not. We see a fight, I don't see anybody breaking it up. I see people recording the fight more than I see people breaking it up. And then here comes the cops.
Yeah, we need more of that.
We need more
here comes the cops.
We need more stopping. Like,
so
even in the video with the girl, you see the guy there. It was a grown man that was there. He actually kicked the girl in the head. He didn't break it up. He didn't try to defuse the situation. The women that were there to fight her were actually grown adults. So when we look at that, we have to get back to a community standard, a community of where we all look out for each other. If something's going on in the neighborhood, as a black man, you should be able to step in and intervene. But the problem is that we lack respect for the black man, and we lack respect for him, and everybody else does. So,
but when you say when you say the lack of respect for the black man, I think that goes a long way. That goes a long way, because every day when I wake up in the morning, I have friends and I know people who look at me every single day and they can love me and interact with me, but I don't know how they feel about black people. They may like Rome, but they may not like black people. You know what I mean?
And we had this conversation yesterday. I said, every white person ain't racist.
Exactly. They're not.
Everybody.
They might have been in situations that's caused them to have certain feelings.
We all say stuff that we shouldn't say behind closed doors.
Because I've been in situations like that. I've been in situations where I'm not racist, but I've been in situations where people of other colors have racists have put me in a box and have made me feel a certain kind of way, and I take those feelings and I might have to bring them down, calm myself down, and not be able to take them on to the other people around me because they're not the same way that person is.
Right.
They're not the same way.
And when I'm talking about situations, I'm not talking about an individual. I'm talking about a system. America is racist. Their systems are racist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their system targets black men, and in our communities target black men.
But it's up to us.
Black men.
It's up to us to change that element. It's up to me to put it into my son. My son can put it into his friends. His friends can put it into their parents. Things like that. Because my son have talked. Me and my son have talked about. He's coming to me and say, Dad. When I talk to my friends about certain things, and they'll go back to their parents, it's getting their parents to think differently. Their parents are thinking different. Like, wow, I never, I watched my son interact, now at the age he is, and I know that everything he gets, he's not getting it from me. He's getting it from his friends. He's getting it from his teachers. He's getting it from his community. He's getting it from the internet. Stuff like that. It's a blending thing for him. And I think that's what happens for a lot of other kids too. So when you have me as my son, like my son is 17 years old, it's going to be a lot of ways my son's going to be taught, and it's going to be a lot of ways my son's going to be disappointed. And I know that I have to prepare him for that, and I think that a lot of parents don't prepare their children for that portion of the world, and that's where a lot of things happen, where we can say, wow, look at that fight going on. Everybody's recording the fight. Nobody's breaking that fight up. Like you said, here comes that grown man. Why isn't that grown man breaking that fight up instead of interacting, kicking the young lady? He should be breaking that fight up. You know what I mean? Because then he can interact with the officer. Hey, officer, okay, I broke it up. Here's what's going on. And that young lady's life could have been saved. At the end of the day, it could have been saved. And that's one of the big problems, man. We don't have, everybody's not interacting in a certain way to help situations at all.
I don't think everybody's rowing in the same direction.
Uncle Doug said, but who cares about the ones that's not racist right now? I'm concerned about the ones who are killing and infiltrating my communities.
Right.
But who?
And just back to it, where like right now with the movement Black Lives Matter, they have the whole movement on with defund the police. I agree with that 150%. I feel like we don't need them in our communities. I feel like if we build up the black man, we have the strongest man on the planet in our communities, in our life, but we don't value him so much. We disrespect him so much that he's lost respect for himself. A nation can only rise as high as their woman. And when you look at the black woman, and I'm speaking from me in general, being a black woman and seeing what goes on in our communities and what goes on in our neighborhood, we don't value our man. And when we don't value our man and we come out and we talk negative about him and we treat him a certain type of way, the rest of the world does. You don't see any other nation of women do this to their men. You don't see any other nation of women lead their race. Black women are leading this race, and we're leading our kids into destruction. A man is supposed to lead, a woman is supposed to follow. What you see right now, all of this confusion, you see black women leading, and it's not working. We have to build the black man back up to the point where when he sees something going on in his community, when he sees someone in distress, he steps up and takes care of it. We don't have to call in the police. We have the strongest military force right here with us, and we don't utilize it enough.
But that's going to be.
But see, how do we? That's the thing. How do we build that? How do we build that? But we preaching differently. We teach our kids
It starts
differently, though.
Because we teaching this for like religion and everything.
I wish it was that easy.
I wish it was too. I wish it was easy like that.
Everybody was on that same page, but they're not.
But we have to get on that same page. This is what I'm saying to you. When I talk about systematic racism, when I talk about all of these different things, it has an effect on everything. Like, as far as black women go, they gave up their man for public housing, for Section 8, for different things. And since the black man has left the family, it has brought destruction. What we see is craziness. We see mama's boy, we see feminine men with no testosterone, no wherewithal, like no respect, because they hear their whole life growing up, bump niggas, all of this stuff that their mom is saying, and they're a man. And so when you're hearing your mom talk this way and don't have any value for a man, it messes with your self-esteem. It messes with your mental health, messes with a bunch of things. So this is what we're seeing, the product of that. This is why we're seeing so much black on black crime, so much killing, because they're confused and they're being raised by women and not by man. And I'm not blaming a woman for staying, but what I'm saying to you is you don't have respect for your man. And we have to get back to that. We have to have respect for him. You have to speak life into them. They're walking around as dead souls. When you see them, they're walking around looking crazy. They have, like, they're losing their lives.
But when you say as far as like building up the black man, as far as like the woman building up the black man, where does that come from their end?
Speaking life into him. When you have a son, what I see with black women, and this is from my personal experience, is we value money more than anything. When we go to look for a mate or different things, we're not concerned with his values, how he treats his mom, how he treats his family. The first thing that we pick is monetary. And so when you're going after somebody for money only, you forget about all of the most important things, and you see us having kids out of wedlock and having kids by guys who we think have money but don't have any values, and then they end up leaving you. So we put a base on money, and we know right now black women out-earn black men. They out-educate them.
I've seen that in the statistics.
So when you put that as your bar, you're putting black men out of the category for somebody for you to be with. That's first and foremost.
But when you say that, but isn't that the situation where a female would want to be able to be on that certain level to begin with, because she wants to uplift herself?
You can want to uplift yourself, but in other ways. Why does money have to be?
No, as far as like education, things like that. Because I look at now. Because now I look at the situation like with my older sister. My sister is in a situation similar to where she jumped right into it. She jumped into the Air Force, building her own self up, building education up, still building education up. Boom, she finds a husband, a mate in between that. They both come together. Okay, they both meet a same goal, family, religion, want to, find stability together. They have a family, they get married. It's like, sort of like the Cosby dream, whatever they call it, stuff like that. So, to me, isn't that the same thing? Isn't that the same thing?
Like, you should want somebody that has something, but you shouldn't base your standards off of that.
For yourself, though, or is that for yourself or for your situation?
For yourself, for your situation. I just feel like as women, instead of looking for a mate that can contribute financially, whatever the case, why don't you look for someone that's going to bring some values, that's going to stay in the household, that's going to build you up? And as women, why are we putting so much into working, into building a career instead of family? Like, we put so much.
I think, but then we can say that though, but when you in that situation and you 20, 30 years in that situation, you still going to feel the same as that. You still going to feel the same way? Aren't you going to want to find your own voice?
John Clark said he said he don't want to turn this into church, but this is spiritual. This is not about spiritual weaknesses in high places. And if we can turn to God, I know we can all see change.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Because for me, that's the first thing that you want to be able to reach together. You want to be able to reach that. That's the main thing together.
The Bible says that the man should lead, and the woman was put here to be to help me. You can't put yourself above the man. And what I see right now in a lot that's happening in our community is that the woman, this is the only nation where the woman is placed higher than her man. Every other nation, the man leads. And what I'm saying is, what we see in our community is the destruction of our community, and it's single black women. These are the women that's raising these men. These are the women that's raising these females, that's raising more kids. And a lot of our women are promiscuous. A lot of them are what I would call a.
So you saying the kids pretty much need direction? You know what I mean? They don't have.
You can't have
a male. Yeah.
Yes, they don't have a positive male and role model.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that. I agree with that. In certain situations, because
all situations.
Because when you look at where the single parent comes from, as far as like the male being locked up, the prison system, you know, that goes back to the judicial system. But it goes both ways too, because you have the black, you have the brown. I mean, that's, to me growing up, that's really all I saw was Spanish, black, and white. That's all I saw, and because visiting my uncles, visiting cousins, that's basically what I would grow up seeing. You know, because we can always say we want to stop this, we want to stop that, but we all know, like drugs, things like that stuff will never go away. That stuff is never going away, and that's the main thing that's in the community. That's the main thing that.
And who brought drugs into the community?
Yeah, but see,
the government.
But we could talk about that until we could talk about that all day. But at the end of the day, once everybody started to see the money, everybody started to be able to eat off of it. That don't matter then. It don't matter who started it. Everybody's still continuing, because you could cut the CIA all out of it right now today. Can they get in here? Well, they can still get in. Mm-hmm. They can still get in here regardless. So if everybody can get a little something out of something's going to keep them going. You know, regardless, because we me and him talk about the show. We talk about the show The Wire. People helping each other. It always goes back to it. If I help you do this, and this, down the line, you can help me get a job, a better job, a career. And that's one of the main things when we talk about schools, everything. When the community, like, we never have after school programs anymore. I never see stuff like that anymore. When I was growing up, you used to see a lot of after school programs. Now, when we do see them, who's running them? The city is running them, you know. And when they are running them, I don't know. They don't know. Sometimes they don't know who they hiring. I saw something a couple of weeks ago where they had. We
were talking about that last week. The reason why a lot of these programs are here because nobody's going to these meetings and stuff like that.
Nobody's interacting. Nobody's getting the funding and stuff like that.
Think about this. All right, let's be honest.
But who's not?
We're all parents. You're a parent. I'm a parent. You're a parent. When the last time you went to a town hall meeting? For your community.
For my community? Yeah. I've never. Probably. Never.
How about you?
Never.
So like as far as like now, let me ask you this. As far as like in school, what about when they talk about the PTA and interacting and stuff like that? See, I interact, it's different nowadays. You can interact differently. You can interact through, you know, like their social media pages, stuff like that, with their teachers. Everything is different from when I was a kid.
When last time you went back to school night?
Back to school night, I would say probably like 3 or 4 years.
About you?
With my daughter, I always do it.
See, but it's different. Yeah, it's different. Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
When it comes to school, I'm always involved.
But when we talk about like school, when you talk about helping as far as like interacting, it's different. Because I remember like my mom and them, they used to be like in it. Like when I was in grade school and stuff like that, they used to be in it. But like as we got older, nah, not really.
If you notice, when were you growing up, in the 80s?
Yeah, I was born in 1980. I was born in 80.
Like, that's like the last generation of where it was actually still community, still parents involved in the school. Still, that's what I mean when I'm saying we need to build the family structure back up.
But that's impossible, I think. That's impossible for right now because of the day and ages that we're growing up in. We're living in right now. It's different. It's never gonna go. Well, like my son always talk about back in the day. It's never gonna go back to back in the day.
You got a comment on YouTube. She said you haven't been to a town hall meeting either, Johnny. Don't get my baby caught up. Look, I was just asking the question. Look, I haven't been to a town hall meeting either. I was asking the question.
Yeah, because for me, when I look at them town hall meetings and stuff, man, that stuff, it don't really nothing really gets talked about that I'll be wanting to focus on, because when we look at the kids, man, these, like, it's never going to be what we want it to be. It's never going to be what we want it to be.
It doesn't have to be what we want it to be. But
I'm just asking a question.
Something better than what's going on right now. And I think for me, the most important thing that we can do right now, like the situation with the girl in Ohio, we need to get back to community. We need to get back to man, woman, and child. The mother, the father being there. And a lot of women, myself included, I'm going to say this again, we put so much focus into work, building corporate America up, that we don't put that same energy and that same focus into our children. And so what we're seeing is a lack of nurturing in our kids.
Yeah, but I want my daughter to be able to stand on her own 2 feet.
Yes, and
I don't want my daughter to be waiting in the weeds, thinking like I gotta find a man to do this, that, and the third. Because I look at my situation. But when you say, but I also want my daughter to be able to have that stability for herself.
Right.
At the end of the day,
the stability for myself. And
I want that for my daughter.
I want that for all women. But when you decide to have a family and you decide to have children, certain things come with that, and part of that is nurturing. You need to be there for your child. You need to instill your child with certain values. It can't be just work, and you're not feeding anything into the child, because that's what we're seeing right now. What we're doing right now, what we see right now, is a lot of women going out into the work field, and a lot of kids not being raised properly, and a lot of men not in the household. And we see a lot of crime. We see a lot. Every time I turn around, it's a black kid getting killed, either by the police or by another black kid. So what can we do to stop that? What can we do to change that? And right now, what we see predominantly in our neighborhoods is single black females raising these kids. And the girls are prostitutes, and the boys are crazy. They're out of their mind. They walk with their pants down. They talk to themselves. They sing to themselves. The girls thinks it's okay to be on these different pages and selling their bodies and different stuff. It's confusion and it's madness. So what can we do to stop the confusion and madness? Why would it be okay for a grown man to stand there and kick a girl in her head and not break up the fight and not do anything? Something is going wrong here. So we need to try to fix what's going on and what's going wrong. And we know statistically, and we know for a fact that this is a product of single mothers, and it's not working. And I'm not blaming the mothers for staying, but I'm saying we have to do something. And we have to, and my thought is, we need to put the man back in the house.
But in order for the man to be back into the house, what has to come from that? What has to be done? You telling me that the man has to be back in the house in order for the situation to go back to the normal or to be good? Because I think even with the man in the house, the situation can become worse. The situation can be worse.
I know. I think a healthy relationship, a healthy 2-parent home is a balance. I think boys need to see their.
I don't even think it's about male or female. I think nobody is following no religious path. That's what it is. That's what it boils down to. There is no religious structure in these households. If you don't have faith in anything, right?
You're gonna fall for whatever. You're gonna fall for whatever.
And the Bible teaches.
If you're not, if you don't believe, if you don't have no structure,
how to be a good husband. The Bible teaches you. I'm happy you brought it up. The Bible teaches you all of these things.
That's what it is. When it comes down to it, everything y'all just was talking about, that's why I was listening to it, trying to break it down.
And in the Bible is man, woman, and child. It's not woman and child. It's not man and man. It's not woman and woman. It's the man, woman, and the child. That's the structure. That's the process.
And all these years we've been
family to be.
Think about this on social media. All these parents, we see everybody living their best life, doing this, having a good time. How many of your friends do you see posts? I'm going to church. Praise the Lord.
I'm going to read
in the morning
tonight.
Have a blessed day. We don't see that no more.
Yeah, you don't see that a lot.
We took that out of the black household.
Yeah.
We took that out of, it's been out of schools forever.
We took that out of our life, and
it's not going on now.
It's been going for a long time. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when you got to that point, what got you to that? Because for me, it's like the grandparent. For me, that was the main thing that got me to that point, was the grandparent, and then the trickle downs to my mother, and then it has to come from me too. Because I didn't have it wasn't Yeah, to me, man, it was the grandparents. Like that's the last of it right there. Like the last of it. I'm like an '80s baby where the grandmother was the one who. That's where I saw it at the most. And then when I see my mother, she brought it into us as well. And then next thing you know, it to me it's going away a lot now. It's going away a lot. It's going away a lot.
And I feel like with the '80s, that's the last time we seen
Yeah.
the black couple, the man, woman, the child. That's the last time that we seen structure in a community, and that's the same time that crack was introduced to our communities. So I think we're at a point now where it's so much light on the criminal justice system. It's so much light on so many different things that this generation, if you were born between 1980, I'm going to say to 2000. We're the generation that can make a change on how we want the rest of our future to be, to shape the rest of our future.
Based on the criminal justice system, more than anything. Because to me, I believe that's where everything starts and ends at, for me, is the criminal justice reform and that right there. Because that, to me, is like, holds the major point and part to everything.
Right, and I think that the main point is God and family structure. You can't have a child without a mom, and you can't have a child without a dad. Mm-hmm. It takes two parents. We have to put the man back into the house, and we have to speak life into our men. Instead of speaking death into them and destruction, we have to speak life into them, and we're not speaking a lot of life into them. When we see black men on the street, we automatically stereotype them.
Yeah, absolutely.
We automatically look at them in a certain type of way. In their own community, they have to go to work and be around different people that criminalize them, that look at them. That's a lot of stuff to go through mentally. And so
every day, 24/7.
Right. So when you're dealing with that, that's a lot of pressure.
Now, when you say now I agree with that, because to me, like me and him was talking about that when we talk about the boogeyman thing, the boogeyman theory. As far as being a black man, because every single day you're put in that box to where if
Andre God said it starts at home.
It starts at home because I know I was taught that the color of my skin does not make me out to be a bad person in my home. But when you step outside of the home, I mean, that's where it's like, it's there every day. Right. It's there every day, all day long.
Do you get that stare from other black women? Other black people? Do they come to their purse? Are they afraid of you?
Absolutely, yeah. You get it there too. And that's, to me, that's the toughest part of the whole dynamic of the whole situation. Because when I had a situation a couple of weeks ago at work, and we're out of town at work, and I'm literally like, I can see it. I'm standing right there with the guy, and he's like, "Well, Jerome, are you all right?" And I say, "Yeah, I'm fine. But just I say to him, watch this, because I say, when we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, he says, "Oh, it's not going to happen." I say, "Oh, don't worry about it." As soon as we come up, we have the officer come up. He says to me, right before he says to him, "Can I have a conversation with you?" And I say, "Well, what's the problem?" "Well, a little situation happened a couple of hours ago where the store was robbed, and literally, and before we could say anything, the guy with me, older white gentleman in his 50s, had to be like 50-some years old. He says, "Well, he couldn't have been there. He was with me." And the officer says, "Well, okay, what were you guys doing?" He breaks him down to him. We were working. He breaks basically our whole day down to what we was doing, and I'm just standing there laughing. And when he's on, I thank you for your information. And I said, for the officer, I says, "Officer, it took him for you to say that." But all you had to do was ask me. You could have just said, "Hey, what were you doing?" And I could have broke it down to you probably better than him, because I did the job.
Right.
He sat on his ass.
I think the most of the time. Somebody said the sound like a little.
And I said to the officer, "You could have asked me, because I did the job." He sat on his ass because he don't know how to do the job. And the officer says, "Well, I don't." He kind of got caught up in the sentence. I said, "You know what? Don't even worry about it. Have a good day." And then as soon as we walk away, he says, "Well, Jerome, I apologize." I said, "You don't have to apologize to me, but I just told you I know that was going to happen, because it always happens, certain situations." And for me, I had to teach him, because he doesn't know it. It's a shock to him. And that man's in his 50s, going on to 60 years old, working for the state like 30-some years. Yeah, he never experienced that, because I'm the first black man that he's worked with side by side. He's never worked with a black man like side by side on an 8-hour shift. Never. And when I talk to him about stuff, show him situations, it surprises him, it's a shock to him. And he'll tell you, he's not racist, but it's like, man, this is really what it is, and he can see it on TV all day. But hey, if I get him for like another 2 years working, I'll be like, damn, all right, I'm cool, because at least I'll put him on to something that he may take on 10 years from now. He might be in a situation, and he might be able to like, oh, I remember Rome taught me, and then it might be work out better for the person and him.
And you know what's something that's crazy? Look, I remember when I was in the military, right? You know, I was a cook, right? It was a guy from Texas, right? I'll never forget it. Me and him was talking on the side. He said that this was his first time being around black people when he joined the military.
Okay.
He's never been around black people, so he was like, man, you guys are kind of cool, man. He was surprised.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
He was really surprised. He was like, I thought, you know, he said, I'm not racist or nothing, but from what I see on TV,
See?
that's what I thought.
And what we always talk about, you may be in a room with another person who's hearing that and may take that the wrong way. They may take that, but he said, and take that the wrong way and use that against that person later on down the line. But you know he's not racist, but it's him, it's the way he takes it. It's the way we take certain situations. You know, and I think that's a big problem too. It's the way we take stuff in.
Yeah.
It's the way we take stuff in. Because you have some people who say, well, what the hell you mean, us? You know what I mean? Like, but you know and I know, I mean, he don't know no better. He doesn't know no better. He may live a shut-in, crazy world to where this is literally his first experience with a race outside of his own more than a couple of hours out of the day. You know, so it's hard, man. It's hard. To me, it's one of the toughest jobs in the world is being a black man. That's one of the toughest jobs in the world.
I kind of wanted to touch on the analogy that you just gave where you see once the white guy spoke up for you and told where you were, it was okay.
It was cool. It was fine. It was great.
The reason why I say is no respect for the black man from the black woman or from America, period, is that same analogy that you gave. Do you notice how in every situation they always come to the black woman to get her to speak on behalf of the black man or to get the black man to go with something that they want done, like the whole thing with the vaccine. Did you notice how it was a black woman that was the first person in the United States to take the vaccine?
Yeah, because we know, because when I saw that, I knew that was because that was like the mold. That was like they wanted us to be like the first.
That's because they have no respect for the man. They always go to the black woman first to get the man and the children to do stuff.
It's proven knowledge that we don't trust the government because of what was done in the past. So they use that as a decoy. Like, hey, look, let's.
They use the black woman to break down the black family and the black man every time. Mm-hmm. That was just a great analogy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Even with the Biden, the situation, you see how he went and spoke to Cardi B, but he wouldn't speak to Ice Cube. They always go to the black woman to get, like, literally, this is what I'm telling you. It's not me being crazy. This is actual factual stuff.
Yeah, because we see it. It's like literally right in your face all the time.
Yes, and black women, we don't value the black man. Like, this is what I'm trying to convey. And get everybody to understand this.
Now, what can bring the black man back to that place?
Somebody got a comment. They said, let's talk about DMX and the COVID-19 vaccine. They want to know, was it drugs or the vaccine that killed him?
I see reports that say he took the vaccine, but
I don't know what that man was doing outside of that. Because to me, if that's the case with anything, when I hear stuff, the vaccine and stuff like that, when somebody's celebrity status passes away, eventually, leading up to their passing away, they probably took a vaccine. That's always going to come up. Unless you literally saw a person take a bullet to the head, the vaccine won't come into play with it. So whatever happened between that man and with him, I don't know. God rest his soul. He was a great artist. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Great artist, great, probably one of the all-time best live performers. And I don't know if that's what's the case that happened with him, but that man has passed away, and it is what it is.
So what are your thoughts on the vaccine?
You want to switch?
No, I'm just asking. We brought up the vaccine.
Oh, no, for me, to me, I know people in my family who've taken it, and like I tell people anything, what I always tell you, to each his own. For Rome, I'm good. Right now, I'm good for right now. I'm going to take a good flu shot, so I'm good.
Well, for me, I'm not taking it because it hasn't been enough research done on it. You know, so I don't feel comfortable injecting myself with something, you know, as far as that's been made within a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, really under a year, right?
Under a year, so I don't trust it. I mean, people dying from it. Now, I mean, I just read something, 2 weeks ago? It said you could possibly get herpes from it. It's
like every day something new.
It's something. It's something new every day with it, and I'm not willing to put my life on the line.
Yeah, because when I hear something like this pop up, it's too quick. For me, it's too quick. Because it's taking a long time for other diseases and other things, for cures to come up, vaccines for stuff. For me, it was just too fast.
They want to know, would you vaccinate your kids or no? Let's talk.
Nah. If I'm not getting it, the kids can't get it. The kids can't get it. I can't. If dad can't get it, neither can the kids.
My daughter, she has no vaccinations. I don't think. I don't trust them. Too much stuff has happened.
Nah, too much stuff.
And with the vaccine, it actually heightens the chance, especially for black kids, to get autism. That's why I'm so against the vaccine. Because it affects us so much.
Anybody else. For me, with my daughter, when I look at my situation with my daughter, a lot of the research I did in the beginning, I kind of was wrong myself a little bit. Like, wrong, did you mess up with certain stuff like vaccines with my daughter when she was first born? Yeah, did that have a play a part in it? And but for me personally, I don't think about that anymore because the situation is here and it is what it is. One of them things for me, the situation is on me. So a lot of people in my ear about that. A lot of people, I'm good. And if, like I said, if I don't get it, definitely the kids don't get it. The kids definitely don't get it. So, it's out there, and we got 3 different versions of it.
Yeah.
Yep. It's 3 different versions of it. Yeah. That's like you said.
They said the Johnson was supposed to be the one shot.
Was the one shot, right?
But people were getting blood clots, so they recalled the vaccine. Yeah. So,
and I know that a lot of people have blood clots. That's something that they get a lot too, and for them. For that to be a major reason that you behind it, getting a shot, you can get that could turn you into getting a lot of blood clots, down the line. Nah, I'm good. I'm definitely good on that. Nah, but I know a lot of jobs will be making it mandatory soon. Eventually, you never know. I know traveling. That as well might turn into it.
Traveling?
I saw passports.
I'm driving if I gotta do that.
I saw it's like on your passport, like it's gonna be on your passport, literally like a stamp to say if you got it to be able to go out of this country. Eventually that's gonna happen too. So, it's gonna be another way they can control you, another way to get some type of form, a little snag on you. But I don't fault anybody who wants to do it. I know a lot of people at a certain age they like to do it. Because it helps them the better state of mind. So, hey, to each his own kind of thing. More than that.
So, all this stuff that's been going on, anything positive happened this week with you? All the stuff that's been going on, man.
Getting up every day.
I'm ready to hear some big news.
That's positive every day. Getting up every day. It's always going to be some negativity going on, man. It's always going to be good with the bad. Always. We know that since we was kids. Yeah. Always. One of the biggest things that you got to focus on is just not letting it run your life. Not letting it take over your every day. That's the main thing I try to tell people all the time around me, man. Don't let it take over your every day. Have a little bit of joy. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you got to watch a movie, have a drink, go outside, watch a ball game or whatever. Just enjoy yourself. Have a little bit of fun because the way the world is right now, if we continuously, every single day that it consume you, you might go crazy and the people around you are going to go crazy too, So that's the main thing I preach to anybody, man, because we saw what's going on with the pandemic. A lot of things I've been noticing coming up as far as people who were condensed to stay home, a lot of stuff, as far as like seeing psychiatrists more, couples seeing shrinks together, people on the outside, seeing it, and I just think I don't want people to focus on too much negativity, man, because it's been enough going on the past year, a lot, so. But other than that, man, what about you? What's going on good with you, man? Cause I
got nothing good, but I just want to say, if we want to get this right, we got to get home right first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And, sometimes we got to stop wanting to point the finger all the time. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's our fault. Everything ain't the cop fault. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not on the cop side, but everything's not the cop fault.
Yeah. Because it's what you got to be taught.
And we got to look at every case differently. That's my opinion on it. Cause
we got to bring in community. We got to get back to community. You know how they say, get your house in order? Yeah. We need to get our house in order.
We do.
What we saw in Ohio was a mess. Was confusion. Was
because the news
embarrassing. Was.
I think what we saw in Ohio is a lot of things we see a lot of places, but I think what made Ohio bad was the fact that it was that the young lady was the one who called the police because of other stuff that was going on. That led up to that. That's what really
got us all going crazy. Our blood pressure going crazy is the news only told us half of the story. They didn't give us the full story.
They never do.
When the full story was exposed, then all the arguments and the bickering and stuff calmed down.
But you know what I mean? It ramped up a little bit too, though. But
see, the news, that's what I'm saying. We can't always follow what's being shown on TV.
Yeah, that's why you never really can with anything.
What's on TV, man?
You're gonna get it 100 different ways. You're gonna get it 100 different ways before you get the truth.
What I saw was a reflection of everything I'm saying to you guys. It's madness in our community. It's confusion in our community. It's death in our community. And we need to focus on getting our community in order. We shouldn't have to call the police. It was a grown black man there that could have diffused that whole situation without the police ever getting involved. We have to get back to community. We have to get back to each other. We have to stop looking at each other as enemy, as enemy. We have to start looking at each other as this is my family. This is my protector. This is. If I see something happening, I'm going to say something. If your mom isn't there and I see something going on, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to grab you up. That's what we have to get back to. We have to get our community in order.
And it's very, very hard to get to that point because it got to find a way to start it. That's the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest thing. It's got to find a way it got to be a start to that. Because I just don't want it to be where it takes an incident, because we can say it right now, and then here there's another incident, here's another incident. And every incident that happens is like, we always say, it starts here, this is where we got to start it. What's it gonna take for it to actually start? Like, for it to start?
I think it starts with us. I think it starts with us doing more. Like, I know a lot of females that have children. Like you said, they haven't been to town halls, they haven't been interested in certain things. We get together, we go to the school, we demand better books, we demand better education, we demand better resources for our neighborhoods. We work with our kids' fathers to try to get them involved in our kids' life, and not just monetary, but actually spend time with the kid, take the kid, do certain things with the kid. We can't put everything into money, and work. And that's what I'm trying to convey. With a lot of our women, I just see us putting so much emphasis on working, building up our careers, and we're not putting enough on family, God. We're putting it all outside of the household, and it's causing confusion.
Everybody's saying George Floyd. They're saying Black Lives Matter. That's what I'm seeing in the comments.
What do you mean by George Floyd, Black Lives Matter?
They're like, we need to say his name. That's what it's all started from.
It started
earlier than that.
It started way earlier than that for me. I just think when I look at that situation with George Floyd, I just think that it tied in with the social media aspect, with the telephones. It brought it out to people. Like people that I work with who don't actually see it, hear about it, but I don't know, Jerome, but here it is right in front of you. You actually saw a man in a uniform who's taught to protect us to a certain extent, and people actually saw it. So for me, I think the George Floyd situation, yes, it started there in a little bit, but even with the verdict, we got the guilty verdict, but I want to know what time is the man gonna have? Everything. I need to know. I want to know stuff like that.
And I think for me, just watching what's been going on the last 10 years, George Floyd was not the worst thing that I ever saw or ever heard about. I think what made George Floyd so prominent is because of COVID. The world was shut down. Nobody had anything to do. So you had to pay attention to a black man being killed. Because we seen plenty of times where a black man was murdered. We seen this with Philando Castile. We literally watched him get killed in front of his kid and his girlfriend. And we protest, and it wasn't this big of an audience. It's because of COVID. Nobody had anything else to do. We were forced to pay attention to what we've been screaming and shouting from the rooftops for years.
John Clark said, it seems to me the world was looking for solutions without God, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah. I agree with that to a point too, because but then it's like we put it on religious aspects, we put it on family aspects when it's all grouped in together. It's all grouped in together to me, because like you say, when that situation that happened with the George Floyd situation, it was there. It was right there. You had everybody was paying attention to it. Everything, sports
was shut down.
Everything. So you had sports shut down, but internally they were putting in front of you too. Because you had a lot of people who did not understand what the black man was going through, and that's not just the black man. Look what the black woman was going through as well. Earlier we saw where the young lady was killed in her own home. And that was put in front of you. That was put in front of you too. So I just get mad. It just upsets me when certain other situations happen and it puts it in front of you, you're forced to watch it when it's already been there. Right. It's already been there, right? It's already been right there. Now you feel like you gotta sit down. Why? Because you don't want to go outside to a store with your mask on or whatever. You're forced to sit home, so you gotta watch it. You have to sit there and watch it when it's been going on. It's been going on for long before I was even born.
Right.
So
and I think that's part of it too, where we got so comfortable in our situation, in our captivity, in our struggle. We just became comfortable and we forgot exactly where we are and what's going on and what's in front of us, and we lost focus. And just like John Clark said, we lost God. And when you put God back into it and you put that into perspective, we can fix it.
Yeah, I want to see that. I don't think it is either. But I just think when we talk about religious aspects, it's too many outside influences with that too. There's too many outside influences with that, because you got real religion, and then you got this religion that's just regular profit. You know what I mean? And it's crazy right there, man. That's crazy right there.
There's only one God.
Yeah. I mean,
you can have whatever. No.
As far as the way the words is being taught and the way it's coming at people. So it's too many different forms of that too. So and that's one of the main things as well. It's so many different forms of everything. For everything.
So what can we do? Because we keep saying it's too this, it's too that. What are your thoughts, Ron?
The main thing for me is what we always talk about. It's like in the home.
That starts at home. We gotta get our households together.
I look at right now with my son. My son's been with my mother for the past 6 weeks, 6-7 days. So when I look at Rome, I know I'm gonna see something different with Rome, because he been with my mom for the past couple of days. So not to say that I'm doing nothing wrong. Nah. I know that everything that I've been taught, it's gonna get ramped up times 100 with her. Times 100 with her.
Are you with your kid's mother?
Yeah. Every day we in the house, man, everything. So I know that, but see, when it comes to my mom, it's gonna go up 100 with her, because he can hear it from me. But I know when he get back to the house and hear it from me, it's gonna be like, all right, shit, I gotta be on point, because I'm gonna get it from both ends. And that's the biggest problem, because we got these young grandparents, these who don't really take time with their own kids, and here comes another grandkid, here comes the youngest form of that child, and they don't take the time out.
That tied into the conversation we had last week. We were saying some of the stuff last week about the younger grandparents.
Yeah, it goes both ways. It's tough because it's very tough. Like I always tell all the time, man, we talk about being an 80s baby, the last a little breed of the parents. It's hard. When I look at my mom, I look at my aunts and them, I always say, man, that's about to be it. Damn, I'd be afraid that's gonna have to be me. It's my turn. It's my turn to be for the young cousins and stuff, to be looking at Rome. They gotta look at Rome the way I look at my mom, the way I look at my aunts, my uncles. That should be making me scared sometimes. Because I'm not saying I'm not no criminal. I got a job. I got 9 to 5. I take care of mine, but shit, I be home like, man, that shit be making me nervous because I know eventually I got to take that baton. You know what I mean? And am I ready for it? No, but I know a part of me understands that when I got to be ready for it, no matter what, because my kids gonna need that, my cousins gonna need that. You know, my friends, you know, I look at you, when I look at him, if I get down on myself as a black man, sometimes all I got to think about, I look at Johnny, his situation. He was overseas. He took care of his family. He came back. He jumped right into it. He didn't sit on his ass. He didn't wait for no unemployment or nothing like that. He went to school. He went to trucking school. He jumped up, went into it, got a good job. I look at that. That gets me focused. That gets me focused because of the people around me. That's the main thing that I always preach to anybody, man. Don't have nobody around you that's gonna be no bullshitter. I got a friend who, that's not my cousin, but I got a friend like, that's like my cousin like Don. I look at him, younger than me. His birthday was like 2 days ago. He got it more together, I feel like, than me when I look at him at the age he at now, and I say, damn, that young man right there, when he get to my age 40, he gonna be better off than Rome is, because he got it together right now at a younger age, 2 children, he works hard, he takes care of himself, he brings light into other people's world, gets stuff in their mindset. You gotta have the people around you. That's the main thing. Have the people around you, because you might not have that parental person that you learn it from. You might be learning from your friends. You know what I mean? And that's the main thing a lot of people I be wanting, man. Just have some good people around you. Don't have nobody around you that's gonna be bullshitting, man, that's gonna be pulling that energy out of you. Have people around you that you can be like, hey, when I'm down, I can think on my friend, he focused, let me get focused too. I wanna be like him. I wanna be like him. I always tell people all the time, I always tell you, and I wanna be like you when I grow up. But shit, we the same age, you know what I'm saying? But I feed off of you. I feed off of you a little bit, you know? And I think the same way goes, you know, vice versa, you know?
And John, you were raised with your mom and dad in the house, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So that has a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because I was raised both up until like the age of like 13. I lost my father when I was 13. Yeah, my father died when I was 13 years old. But I always joke, I remember my pop, but I remember and I know about my mom, you know what I'm saying?
Like, I post about his dad.
Yeah, I know my pop. You know what I'm saying? I know my pop. It's not like my old man's been there playing catch with me, none of that, no shit like that, nothing like that.
You had him up until a great age.
Yeah.
Really becoming like a man.
And that's what I always joke about. Me and my sister, you know, I always say to my sister all the time, like, I had a dream where I was giving some type of speech, and I say that I was always afraid that when I lost my dad, who the hell was going to teach me how to be a man? 2, how can a woman teach me how to be a man? My mom. But now as I'm growing older, my mom played a role in it. My sister played a big role in it. I had an aunt, my auntie, my aunt Ellen. I just seen her earlier. She played a big role in it. You know, I got my aunt Cindy. You know, the women. When we talk about the women building up the black man, I'm gonna be honest with you. The black woman raised me. The black woman built me up every single day. The black woman taught me how to be a strong African American black man every single day. I did not have, when I lost my father, I still didn't have like the uncles there with me every single day because they was doing their thing, and I was a shy kid. I didn't want to be around anything other than my mom. You know what I mean? And that woman raised me up. That's how I know how to be a strong black man, from my mom. You know what I mean? Shit, I got a grandmother who every single day would preach that into my head every single day. No matter what goes on, you still got to carry yourself a certain way at the end of the day. And if you don't, then how the hell can you live? You can't live. You can't live. And I got that from a black woman.
Yeah.
You know? I look at my sister. That's how she is. You know? So I think, yeah, the black woman, I feel like, yeah, the black woman can raise the black man to be strong, to be upright.
If she's strong,
if she comes from that, yeah.
If she's there mentally,
yeah, because I look at my mom. My mother came from the South, and she didn't know how to drive heavy, do none of that stuff. My pop and all that, she got all that stuff. You know, my dad didn't literally sit down and teach my mom stuff, but when my dad was on his bullshit, and she wasn't no shy woman, none of that. She learned I gotta be strong. I'm not about to sit here and let this man run over me. If you know what I mean, I got his kids, but I'm not about to be no sucker. You know, and when she got that in her, look at her now. I look at my mom now. Man, my mom don't take nothing from nobody. I don't care if she's her own family, me, nothing. And I know that when I look at myself, yeah, I'm an asshole. People tell me all the time, like, yeah, you know, my wife, everybody tell me I'm an asshole, but I don't care. I got that shit from my mother, you know, because I'm not about to take no shit from nobody. And I'm not going to let anybody walk over me. And I try to teach my son that too. You know, you don't let anybody take you to a place where you don't need to be at. You know what I mean? Because you got to learn how to be your own man. And that's the main thing. I think that's a lot of people don't focus on that. A lot of people don't, you know, at the end of the day. Because what we always be talking about all the time. When you tell me about your son, your son trying stuff out, trying new things. You think, ain't no way in hell Johnny would be wrestling when he was in high school with them uniforms and all that shit. Hell no. He wouldn't do that. But I know, when you tell me your little man do that, because you put that in his system, you put that in his mind, like, you ain't got to sit there and do, just because you young and you tall and you lanky, oh, here go basketball. Hell no. That lanky tallness going to help his ass more in wrestling than anything. You know what I mean? And you put that in your son's mindset. And that's what I want to see. That's what I think we be lacking in the world. A lot, man. Just a home. It do start with religion, man, but that should be starting at home first. For real. It really do. Getting up in the morning, just doing everything.
And just to clarify my stance, I never said a black women are not strong and can't do it. I just think we should be strong in other areas, and we shouldn't have to do it on our own. And I think having a man in the house, you just showed that wrong. You showed that how you are with your son, how Johnny is with his son. Like, having a man is extremely important.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what we're lacking.
You got any final thing to say?
Hang on.
Nah. As far as
I
like,
think this was good. This was a good topic.
yeah,
today.
good talk.
Yeah, that was a good talk. And
very good talk. And I see a lot of people saying that only a man can raise a man, and that is true.
That was a good conversation.
That is a very good statement to say.
Today, I was reading all the comments.
But we always talking about that. I see that only a man can raise a man. That is true. But when the world we living in today, if I didn't have my mother, if the shoe was on the other foot, and my mother had passed away at 13, and I had my father, I don't know if I would be the person that I am today, because I don't feel like my dad had the ways that my mother has. And when I look at that situation, I wish my dad was here. I wish they both was here raising me. But I look at the situation and I feel like I was blessed. My father took me as far as he could take me at the age I was at when he passed away, and he left me in the hands of a strong black woman and an even stronger black sister. Because without the two of them, I would not be the man I am today. I probably wouldn't even be doing the stuff I'm doing as far as like my work and taking care of my kids, stuff like that. Nah. I know it for a fact. And it's different for everybody, but for me, that's what made Rome the way Rome is right now. Having a strong black mom and a tough ass sister. So to each his own with it, and I know it's different for everybody else. So, but good show this week, man. Good
Great
topic.
show.
Yeah.
Tune in next week. We're gonna be doing a little bit of health and wellness next week. We're gonna be talking about fitness because it's weather about to break.
Yeah. It's weather about to break.
We're gonna close out soon.
We got some stuff next week, health and wellness as far as the physical side, as far as the brain, the mental side too. We're gonna be talking about that too, because I know that's something that a lot of things like that do not get talked about in the black community for the black man. So the black man mental is a major thing. Talking a little bit this week. And
so we're gonna have a couple guys on board next week for the health and wellness segment, man. It's gonna be. It's gonna be some good information.
Good information.
You know, we're gonna break down numbers and everything. So this gonna be good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna close out with the liquor company in Jacksonville.